All right, this one's gonna be about Delroy Uzi Edwards, man. Y'all wanted me to tell you about Delroy Uzi Edwards, so I'm gonna break that down to you. So sit back, enjoy the ride, pay attention to this all the way to the end because this is never before heard information on YouTube. Remember that. I was with Delroy Edwards in ADX in 1996. Me and him had a nice long talk, and I'm going to share some of that with you to give you the insight on what's going on so you can see how crazy and corrupt this whole system is. All right? Let's go. Keep it popping. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So here we go. This one is going to be about Delroy Uzi Edwards, man. I'm going to give you the breakdown. I'm going to give you never before heard information on it. Sit back. This is Delroy. All right. Delroy is a Jamaican born, right? He was arrested March 9th, 1988 at the age of 27. He was charged with a 52-count indictment. He was convicted of 48 of those counts, and the remaining 4 counts was dismissed. When he was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences. That means that if he beat one, he still got to beat the other 6 because they didn't run them all together. Consecutive means running wild. So that's what that is. Plus an additional 450 years approximately. Did you hear that? 7 consecutive life sentences. He stood in front of the judge when he got sentenced, in his late 20s, and had to hear that he was going to be in jail for the rest of his life for 7 life sentences, plus approximately 450 years. He was convicted of RICO, CCE, 6 murders, guns, drugs, 1 maiming, 11 assaults, 1 kidnapping from being the alleged leader of the organization. Now, I'm going to break this down to you. The case spanned from Brooklyn to Philly to Baltimore to D.C., because we all went out of town back then. So sit back, y'all going to get some real good information here. All right? Now, so you fully understand. All right? He went to Marion when he got sentenced. He got sentenced to Marion Supermax. That was the Supermax for the feds then. They had Pelican Bay for California, and ADX was mimicked after, Pelican Bay. When they opened up ADX in 1995, they shot Delroy to ADX for Marion. I met Delroy in 1996 in ADX. Now, so you understand what I'm saying. Pay attention, man. I'm going to take my time with this because I like to make sure that y'all understand where I'm at. Gunshots to the rat bastards that don't understand this. All right? The government railroaded this man. They used him as a scapegoat to cover up their involvement with their supporting the political involvement in the Jamaican politics in 1988, which was the most deadliest election of all time for the island of Jamaica. Now, back then, so you understand, you know how right now you got the Republicans moving the mailboxes in the South, like in Georgia, to make it, 20, 30 miles away so people have to drive or walk 30 miles to go drop their vote to make it inconvenient, right? That's ballot tampering. You know what I mean? That's how they do in America. They play games and they move the ballot box. But in Jamaica, what they did was they handed out guns and machetes and paid people to harm or possibly even murder anyone that was voting for the opposition party. Picture that. Picture this society, and America was allegedly involved in that. America backed Edward Siega to take, Manley out of office and put in American-born and educated Edward Siega to remove, British born, UK born, England born, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? Mr. Manley, who was running the country from approximately 1970. So America had a political interest in that. So they supported Ciega. Ciega gets down there and he allegedly formed the Shower Posse, you know, and allegedly used Jim Brown as the leader from Tivoli Gardens. I know y'all heard these names, Jim Brown. You know, remember that name. Rest in peace, Jim Brown. Round of applause. Rest in peace. Relax, y'all, relax. Now, Jim Brown, so you understand what we're dealing with and how serious and violent this was. And could you believe that America was allegedly involved in this? Jim Brown was burnt to death, was firebombed in his cell the day before he was supposed to be extradited to America because he allegedly said that he wasn't going down alone, that, you know, Ciega was behind him, America was behind him, and now they using him as a scapegoat. You know, I like to ride. You know, that's the same thing they did with General Manuel Noriega, you know. When Noriega was extradited to America, I was on the plane in Miami, Florida, going to visit my mother on that Sunday night. And that was about, you know, the rat bastard's gonna say something like, it was the late, like 89, maybe 90. It was right around that time in the early 90s, you know, late 80s. But now I was there and I witnessed tons of police cars and vans and ambulances and all this surrounding the plane, and they told us we couldn't deboard the plane because of a security emergency. And this is before TSA. All right? So Manuel Noriega had the Panama Canal. I'm going to do one on Noriega, too. If you want me to do the whole Noriega joint, let break that down to you. But Noriega had the Panama Canal. America, you know, wanted to expand the canal, and then they was going to put the money up for it, and they wanted a percentage, you know, of everything that go through it. Noriega bucked them, and, you know, Noriega was allegedly down with, you know, the sending the drugs up, you know, and all that, you know, through, you know, the presidents of the United States at that time. I'm going to save that for when I do the whole story, because this is about Delroy Uzi. All right? Well, Noriega bucked and said he wasn't going to give them a percentage of what go through the canal, even though they was willing to put up the money to widen the canal to make sure more ships could go through the canal. So they went down there, kidnapped him, brought him up here, locked him up. You know, let me save some of that for the next time. All right? Now, let's ride. We're going to ride back. So now, America was allegedly involved with placing Edward Ciega in Jamaica to run for prime minister. That means president to my subscribers, you know. Now, when he came down, that was one of the most deadliest times in America, in Jamaican history, right? They labeled Delroy, the government, the American government, labeled Delroy Uzi as the leader of the Shower Posse, and they took him to trial for that. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want to expose the real alleged leader, who was allegedly working with with Edward Ciega. So they used Delroy and charged Delroy. When they locked him up, he was the first Jamaican, you know, to be charged with a RICO, you know, out the Jamaican so-called posses. He was the first one to be charged with the RICO. As a Jamaican, he was convicted of, like I said, 48 counts. Yeah. Now, when they brings him up and he goes to trial, right, they labeled him as the leader to hide what was really going on. Now, it's crazy because at the time when Delroy was going to trial and he was arrested, when all of this was taking place at that time, you had Jim Brown, you know, was in custody in the United States for over a dozen murders. Picture that. He was in custody for over a dozen murders. A dozen murders he was in custody for. That's who was the alleged leader of the Shower Posse. But they was trying Delroy Uzi, because Delroy Uzi was more like a freelance. Delroy Uzi, when he started his trial, he went in because they said that he was the leader of the Shower Posse. As people started coming in, nobody testified nothing about him connected to the Shower Posse because they know that he was an independent and he did what he wanted to do and took what he wanted from Jamaica all the way to up here. So what they did was extradite Jim Brown. He was a suspect and he was in custody for over a dozen murders, and America did something that was unprecedented. They extradited him back to Jamaica because they said Jamaica had a warrant for him. So they superseded the Jamaican warrant to put aside the alleged murdering of over a dozen citizens of the United States. They've never done anything like that. That was unprecedented, they call that. That made precedent. A man from a foreign national is charged, well, not charged yet, he's locked up, for over a dozen murders. And then his country of origin sends an extradition warrant saying that he was wanted in Jamaica for other crimes, and America sent Jim Brown back to his country of origin, back to Jamaica, while he was in custody for over a dozen murders. Now, those murders, so you understand what I'm saying, they said it was in Carroll City, I think it was like 5 in Carroll City and like 6 in Baltimore, that I knew that he was charged with, that they was going at him for. So that's what was going on with this. And they extradited him back to his country of origin. That was to silence him so that they could put the weight on the brother on the screen. Because y'all don't know who Delroy is. I ran into Delroy in 1996 in ADX. I know Delroy from the streets of New York City. From back, like 81, 82, when I was over on Schenectady, And Delroy Uzi was with the Jamaican Labor Party, JLP. And then you had the People's National Party, that's PNP. You have these two, that's like the Republicans and the Democrats, so you understand what I'm saying. America was back in JLP, and, the people of the island and, and England, was back in PNP, which was Manly. At this time when these elections was going on, the way Jamaicans carried it is they did not mix. You won't find PNP hanging with a JLP. You understand? And pay attention to what's going on in politics right here now in America today, because that's what's going to happen here. If you watch what's happening in Washington, it's like since Donald Trump became president and he exposed Washington, they're divided. They're straight Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats is the enemy, the Republicans is the enemy, and it's the way they go. You know what I mean? But in Jamaica, we didn't mix. There was no mixing. You know what I mean? We're not going to hang with the opposing party because they was considered as the enemy. And that's what's happening in America now. Look what just happened with the Proud Boys, This is what was going on. And I really want y'all to understand this, because I told y'all, let me ride and give y'all a little politics. I told y'all to be real careful for the next couple of years with what's going to happen with the election that's coming up in 2024. I guarantee you, yes, I'm putting a guarantee on it. I guarantee you that the election of 2024 will go down in not only American history, but world history, because you got other world leaders have an interest in it the same way America had an interest in the election of 1980 with Manley and Siega. Because you got Putin, you know what I mean, over in Russia. They got an interest in it because they want Donald Trump back in. You know, because they feel if they get him in, that he's going to cut off the supply of aid and funding to Ukraine for the war that's going on right now. So everybody say, oh, Republic, oh, what is it? Russia's losing. Russia's losing. The war might be ending soon. No. Russia's going to hold out until after the election. They're going to do everything in their power. Remember when they had the Russian interference investigation with Mulder and all of that was going on? It's going to be even worse when this one come up because we have social media. Let me give you an example how powerful social media is. When, just the media first, when they had, what was the name of that war? You know, whenever they have a war, the first thing they do is take out the telecommunications so people can't communicate, and they shut down, you know, communication to the people, and then they try and implement their own means, you know, of media to push out to the people that's within the war. We talking about the war, the country at war. They put out their own, you know, propaganda of what's happening because all you have to watch is the news. Like all you have is YouTube. So let me give it to you a little better where you can understand this, because I mean, I know a lot of y'all not really into politics like me. It's like you go on YouTube and you see a man like me come up. I done been through hell. I ran the streets with Delroy Edwards. I ran the street with Lou Sims, Antoine White, Boy George. You know what I mean? Pistol Pete. You know, King Blood. You know, I could keep naming names forever. You know, Peter Shue. You know, I mean, men. You know, men of honor. You know, men that stand on what they believe in. And we are locked up, and social media come out with YouTube, and people start telling our stories. And while we're locked up, we're heroes. But when we come out here, we're physically in their flesh, and we're physically what they call in their path. Where now they try and discredit the very people that they praised when we was buried alive. But now that we out here, they feel like we're competition, so they have to discredit us in order to make themselves look big, and they have YouTube that's ran by the Europeans that allow them to do this, to just go up there and tell any type of lie. Any type of lie, you know. They say somebody's a he cipher, monkey cipher, somebody's a this, somebody's a that. They even go up there, might even say, you know, he did something to kids. And people run with it because they don't know no better. Because the social media covers so much area, but where we're from is a little area called the East Coast. You know what I mean? Or a little area called the West Coast, or a little area called the Midwest. Then you break that down to a little area called, you know, Compton, a little area called Harlem, a little area called DC, a little area called Chi-Town. And only the people there know the truth. You understand? Only the people there know the truth. So now they get a chance to get on a big platform like YouTube that covers the globe. So if somebody taps in and they see a video about John Doe and that, you know, he's a this, he's a that, you know, that he wasn't getting no money, he was this, he was that, they buy into that because they don't know what's going on. But if they hit the streets, talk to somebody from the hood, they'll get the real. But how many opportunities do they get to talk to somebody from Chi-Town, from Chicago, from DC, from California, from Harlem, from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Queens? So these people get on social media and they say anything they want. That's how powerful this media is. So I say that to say that the next election in 2024, with the cyber technology they have and the manipulation of it, when they put out these things like how they showed Hillary Clinton looked like she was fainting and couldn't walk and she might have tripped, and they say, oh, look at Hillary, she's losing her balance and, her equilibrium is messed up and she's not qualified to become president. And people watching this from around the world say, oh my God, look at her, she can't be president. Or they show Joe Biden sitting down nodding. They say, oh, look, Joe Biden can't even stay awake. And at the time, he just blinked. But now they're running with it that this man is, you understand what I'm saying? That this man is not qualified to run the presidency because he's old, he's getting dementia, he's getting this, he's that. And these are the propaganda they put out there, and people that don't know no better believe it. Let me ride because I know these rat bastards don't like when I ride, or who gives a crap. So I'm going to give you rat bastard 3 seconds to get off my channel. And you trolls, get off my channel. All right. Back to Delroy Uzi, because this is the way I ride, man. If you don't like my riding, go to one of those rat bastard channels. You know what I mean? Because I give you real information over here to try and prevent the youth from going down there. And I want you to know that my brother Lou Sims is going to be throwing a fundraiser at GS Banquet Hall at 3534 Broadway Avenue next Thursday, September 14th. You can get your tickets at 347-784-5490. It's going to be a dinner and cocktail, and it's a fundraiser for the inner city youth from age 12 to 21. There's going to be motivational speakers to try and help the youth. This is a man that just did approximately 30 years in federal prison for alleged murders. And now he's home trying to rebuild the very community that he destroyed, along with me. So that's what that is. Now, let's go back to Delroy. They extradited Jim Brown. When he was in custody for over a dozen alleged murders. Jamaica sends a warrant saying that we want him down here to take him to trial. And America got him for allegedly killing 12 citizens. And they put him on a plane, sent him back to Jamaica. He never did a day in jail. He went back a hero. And then they went back to get him years later. But I'm going to tell you about that later. If y'all want the whole Jim Brown story, let me know. But this is about Delroy Uzi, as I was saying. Delroy was made a sacrificial lamb and left to stand trial for the Shower Posse. No evidence, no testimony, no nothing about him with a Shower Posse or any posse. They even labeled him as a posse leader. Everybody in Jamaica knows Delroy didn't have a posse. He had a crew that he called, the Rankers. That means you leave them stinking. You leave them a tink. Tink mean not think, tink, meaning the smell. Like how you piss on the side of a wall. The hot summer heat, 100 degrees, and you piss on the wall and you smell the piss and it just rank. You know what I mean? That's what it was. I'm going to get more into his case, into his alleged activities later. But they just dumped everything on this man. So you understand. Because they was trying to cover up their involvement with Edward Siega and them trying to take over Jamaica from Michael Manley. That's how crazy this is. So y'all really need to pay attention, man. Like I said, and I'm telling you, remember, I'm the first one to tell you, America, let's pray it don't happen. But America looks like it's heading towards a civil war because they got Donald Trump with all these cases and he can still run for president, and they're trying to use the 14th Amendment to prevent him from running for president. His base and his supporters, because he's leading the polls in the Republican Party, like 50-something% of the people want him. The next person under him is like Ron DeSantis with like 3 or 4%. So the people wants him to run for president for the Republican Party, and America is trying to lock him up But what they're pushing in the media and social media is that the Democrats want to lock them up. Now, imagine if one of us imagine, let's take Farrakhan, imagine if Farrakhan told everybody back in 1995 when they had the Million Man March on October 15th or 16th back in 1995 to go march on the Capitol and, go take it over and, put me in the presidency. What do you think would have happened to Farrakhan if Farrakhan would have did the same thing Donald Trump is accused of? But the way the media is working and the way they're separating the people that don't follow this and don't know what's going on, and you see my hand, this is the way their minds are going. It's all over the place. Imagine if Farrakhan did that. Told the blacks when they went to Washington for the Million Man March to go take over the Capitol. What do you think would have happened to him and the blacks? Don't forget an officer died. Somebody put in the comments, oh, he died of a heart attack. He wouldn't have had a heart attack if he wasn't out there being attacked by all these people running up in there trying to take over the place that he's trying to protect. So stop it. You know what I mean? But you see how they make excuses because that's the way it is in America with this media and now social media. Someone put in my comments, oh, the officer died from a heart attack. Listen, when they beat me up in Lewisburg, bust me in the head, kicked my teeth out, broke my ribs, and threw me down in the basement, for 18 hours, handcuffed and shackled, and held me down with big boots on the side of my head and took an axe handle and knocked out my front teeth. Pay attention to what I'm telling you. When they did all of that with me, you understand? They got away with it. Because society said, that's in prison. He's in prison. He deserved anything he get. He violated the laws. But what about when you tell someone to storm the Capitol of the United States? Or allegedly tell them to. Let's be politically correct. And like I said, I'm going to say it again. I don't care who don't like it. I love Donald Trump. And somebody even put in the comments again, oh, you only love Donald Trump because he released you. No, I love Donald Trump because he's on man time and he stood behind everything he promised his base, his supporters, the voters that voted him in to do. Once he got in, the people that didn't vote for him said, well, now you're the president of the whole United States. So every other president, once they get in, they just, they forget about their base and they try and work with everything with what they call bipartisan. That's why that clemency program that Obama did was a joke. Obama does a clemency program. He's the first black president that we had. So he's supposed to be, or was supposed to be like the Abe Lincoln for our era, to free the slaves, which was us that was sentenced with draconian sentences for crack cocaine. He gets in office. George Bush tells him on the way to the inaugural signing him into presidency for the peaceful transfer of power that Donald Trump is now accused of not honoring. George Bush told him, you need to do a clemency program to release your people. And that's where he got the idea from. But he went in there with the twisted mentality that he could get bipartisan support, meaning Republicans and Democrats to all vote to free me, us, that they buried with time. This is what they did. Then when he started the program, he started criterias that you had to meet. You understand what I'm saying? And then he put the very prosecutors that locked us up to review our paperwork if they're going to release us back to society if they feel that we self-rehabilitated. You got a prosecutor, the same man that prosecuted you, not the judge, the prosecutor, the man that broke the law and twisted and manipulated and violated every constitutional right of the minorities during the crack era. Obama said, hey, look over their paperwork and see who's ready to go home. All they did was denied. You know what I mean? But then Donald Trump came in and he had his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. who actually sat with the people and they had hearings to hear from people that was on the inside what was needed, and they put together a plan. And Donald Trump said, forget everybody. I'm telling all you Republicans, vote for the bill. You know what I mean? Make the Democrats look stupid. Let us look like heroes. Nobody want to give Donald Trump the credit for releasing us. They'd rather say that, Washington released us. I don't agree. Let me say this so y'all don't think that I'm all on Donald Trump. I don't agree with 99% of his policy, but he honored his word with his policies that I don't agree with the people that put him in office. So the same people that talk bad about him, didn't want him to win the presidency and all of that, those same people, the Democrats, as they call them, you know what I mean? Those same people, now they say, hey, well, now you're the president. We need you to help us do this. But you done crucified the man. So now he had a choice. Either he helped, everybody, as previous presidents did, as a president is supposed to do, or you help the people that put you in. He helped the people that put him in. And then the crazy part is he said something when he was running to the blacks. He said, vote for me. What do you got to lose? You've been running behind the Democrats for 50 years and you don't have nothing. Other than you get vouchers for rent and food stamps and WIC and things like that. What do you got to lose? I'll create jobs for you. I'll create educational paths for you. What do you have to lose? Give me a chance. And everybody went crazy. Oh, man, he's disrespecting them. I mean, that's what it is. I don't want to be here all day. I just wanted to touch on this with Delroy Edwards, and I brought politics into this because that's what he is. He's a political prisoner right now. Delroy Edwards was allegedly paid $13 a week to shoot anybody that was putting ballots in the ballot box for PNP. That's what he was allegedly charged for, So he had a green light. Once they got in office and the election was over, and the very people that he was protecting the ballot boxes for that won, now Edward Yeager said, oh, we're going to crack down on all those people that was harming and killing the civilians, because over 700 people lost their lives during that election just trying to vote. But Edward Yeager said, we're going to lock up the very people that did that, when he was the one allegedly paying them to do that. So Delroy gets papers and he comes to Brooklyn with that same mentality, feeling like if JLP won the war, so PNP owes him. This was told directly to me by him. He felt like they owed him because they lost the war, the election, which was really a war, but he lost the election, So he felt like wherever they was in the world, PNP owed him. Put it in the comments what you think. You know what I mean? Remember, my Cash App is on the screen. I saved that for last because y'all need to pay attention to this. My name is Hall, not HA, the number 1 L, none of that. All right? Do we understand where we at? All right, so let's tap out real quick, man. Got Delroy Uzi in there. We're going to do this right. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. Rush. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio.
Mecca
alive like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spin a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community yours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the root men.